هذا كتاب أنزلناه مبارك فاتبعوه واتقوا لعلكم ترحمون.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll continue with the Surah Al-An'am, verses number 68 and 69. Verses number 68 and 69. And this is again also going to be brief, inshallah, because of the time. Verse number 68 and 69, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وإذا رأيت الذين يخوضون في آياتنا فأعرض عنهم حتى يخوضوا في حديث غيره وإما ينسينك الشيطان فلا تقعد بعد الذكرى مع القوم الظالمين وما على الذين يتقون من حسابهم من شيء ولكن ذكرى لعلهم يتقون. The translation: And when you see those who engage in offensive discourse concerning our verses, then turn away from them until they enter into another conversation. And if shaitan should cause you to forget, then do not remain after the reminder with the wrongdoing people. And those who fear Allah are not held accountable for them at all, but only for a reminder that perhaps they will fear Him. So this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, and the ummah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam are taba'. They follow the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam in receiving these commands unless there's a qarina or an evidence to show that it's only specific for the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ الَّذِينَ يَخُوضُونَ فِي آيَاتِنَا. If you see those who يَخُوضُونَ فِي آيَاتِنَا. Al-khawd, which is indulging into a matter, comes from al-makhada. Al-makhada is the pond or the stagnant water when a person wants to, or muddy water, that a person has no choice but to go through it. Then a person would be in such a discomfort situation. So this is what going into the water with one's foot without swimming. That's basically what al-khawd means. And this is refers to the talking in a matter that is not upright, lying, getting into things that is of no benefit. And it's mentioned in the Quran when the hypocrites, they said, إِنَّمَا كُنَّا نَخُوضُ وَنَلْعَبُ. When they made mockery of the Prophet ﷺ, they said, we were نَخُوضُ وَنَلْعَبُ. We're just saying things out of nonsense or falsehood by being playful. And وَخُضْتُمْ كَالَّذِي خَاضُوا ذَرْهُمْ فِي خَوْضِهِمْ يَلْعَبُونَ. Leave them and what they indulge into, playing and things like this. So it's basically refers to those who would speak about the ayat of Allah, which is opposite to the haqq. Imam Sa'di rahimahullah, he says, المراد بالخوض في آيات الله. What is meant by al-khawd in the ayat of Allah, التكلم بما يخالف الحق. To speak, التكلم. The noun of kalam is to speak in what opposes the haqq, opposes the truth. من تحسين المقالات الباطلة. By tahseen, by you making tahseen, by a person making good out of the falsehood statements. The falsehood is ugly, it's evil, but people, they beautify it with their own way of articulating it in such a way to make it deceitful to the people, those who are listening to them. So al-khawd is al-takallum bima yukhalifu al-haqq, to speak in matters that opposes the truth by adorning the evil or the falsehood statements. وَالدَّعْوَةِ إِلَيْهَا, and inviting others to it. وَمَدْحِ أَهْلِهَا, praising the people of al-batil, praising the people of falsehood. وَالْإِعْرَاضِ عَنِ الْحَقِّ, turning away from the truth. وَالْقَدْحِ فِيهِ وَفِي أَهْلِ, and attacking. Al-qadh is when you attack something, so attacking the people, the haqq, the truth, and the people of the truth. So all of that is يَخُوضُونَ فِي آيَاتِنَا. فأمر الله رسوله, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered his messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم أصلا وأمته تبعا. This is a very important statement, as I mentioned earlier. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered, commanded his messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم أصلا. This is the asl, this is the foundation, this is, he addressed him, which is very clearly وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ وَأُمَّتَهُ تَبَعًا, and his nation, his ummah, his followers, they follow him in the same command. So it's not something only unique for the Prophet ﷺ, and this is the case again, as we said, with every command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet ﷺ, unless there's a specific evidence separate to show that this is unique to the Prophet ﷺ. So فأمر الله رسوله أصلا وأمته تبعا إذا رأوا, if they see, من يخوض بآيات الله, whoever يخوض, again, indulge into the ayat of Allah in an evil way, opposing the truth, all of these meanings, بشيء مما ذكر, with any of what has been mentioned before, بالإعراض عنهم, to turn away from them. الإعراض from العرض is your side, you give your side, that means you turn away. وعدم حضور مجالس الخائضين بالباطل, and not to attend, not to be present in the majalis and the gatherings of الخائضين بالباطل. الخائضين are those who make خوض in the plural tense. المجالس الخائضين, because الخائضين is مضاف إليه. So مجالس الخائضين, the majalis, the gatherings of those who indulge بالباطل, with falsehood. والاستمرار على ذلك, and to continue to be upon this, to be in that state, to stay away, not to be present in these gatherings. حتى يكون البحث والخوض في كلام غيره, till البحث is search, till the discussion, till الخوض, indulging in something other than that, other, حتى يخوضوا في حديث غيره, till they يخوضوا, till they indulge in something else, in speaking about something else. He says فإذا كان في كلام غيره, if it was in something else other than adorning the batil, falsehood, attacking the truth, and things like this, زال النهي المذكور. النهي, the forbiddance here, زال, is removed. المذكور, what's mentioned, that means it's not forbidden anymore to sit with them, even though there are people of falsehood. Yes, but فإن كان مصلحة, if it's not haram to sit with them, as long as they don't speak or act or do anything that is batil, falsehood, against the religion of Islam, committing sins in anything. فإن كان مصلحة, if there was a benefit in sitting with them without what has been mentioned earlier, كان مأمورا به, then it becomes a command, it becomes an obligation sometimes to sit with them if there's a benefit that comes as a result of that, and there's no sins involved, there's no haram, there's no indulging in what's is evil. And ma'muran here, not obligation, but rather it's a command, and the commands either can be an obligation or in the recommended sense. وإن كان غير ذلك, and if it's other than that, that means كان غير مفيد, is not benefiting, ولا مأمور به, and a person is not commanded to do it, then this is how it's, if وإن كان غير ذلك, if it's not benefiting, then it is not benefit, and it's not something that a person is commanded to do, to stay away from it. But this last statement, with the condition that what's mentioned before is not there. So people are sitting, they're not indulging in batil, they're not talking about something against the deen of Islam, or to adorn the evil, or talking about the people of the truth, or adorning the people of falsehood, and there's no sins involved, then it's not forbidden for a person to sit with them. This is one ruling. If there's a benefit then to sit with them with the previous conditions are met, then this is a good thing. If there's a benefit. And if there's no benefit, then this is, even though it's not haram, but it's not something that is good or recommended for a person to do. He said, وَفِي ذَمِّ الْخَوْضِ بِالْبَاطِلِ, in the command of refuting or condemning indulging into falsehood, حث على البحث والنظر والمناظرة بالحق. So as a result of understanding this verse, if it's forbidden for people to indulge into falsehood and to sit with those who indulge in the falsehood, then it shows the importance and the recommendation of speaking and talking and debating, or expressing al-haqq, the truth, because as a result of the mafhum, the understanding of the ayah. So and this is وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ الَّذِينَ يَخُوضُونَ فِي آيَاتِنَا. So there's hukm here to be taken from the verse. And this is mentioned in Surah An-Nisa, وقد نزل عليكم في الكتاب أن إذا سمعتم آيات الله يكفر بها ويستهزأ بها فلا تقعدوا معهم حتى يخوضوا في حديث غيره إنكم إذا مثلهم. In Surah An-Nisa, it shows that if they indulge into mockery of their religion, something that is not permissible, do not sit with them till they indulge in something else. Otherwise, you are one of them. So if you continue to stay with them while they're doing haram, while they're acting and saying bad things about the deen, and you're sitting there, not defending the religion, not doing what you're supposed to be doing, or not leaving, and if you defend the religion, then you do that and then you leave. If it's sin, then you forbid the evil, and then if they continue, then you leave. So if that is not being done, then innakum idhan mithluhum. You are one of them. There's no difference between the one that says and the one that listens. So this is a hukm, a ruling that applies for each and every Muslim. And it shows the honor and the dignity of the believers. And then وَإِمَّا يُنْسِيَنَّكَ الشَّيْطَانُ فَلَا تَقْعُدْ بَعْدَ الذِّكْرَ مَعَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. That means, as he says here, if you see, أي بأن جلست معهم على وجه النسيان والغفلة. If it happened that you sat with them out of forgetfulness and not paying attention, فلا تقعد بعد الذكرى مع القوم الظالمين. Do not sit after you've been reminded with the wrongdoing people. He says يشمل الخائضين بالباطل. That includes, يشمل includes those who indulge in falsehood. وكل متكلم بمحرم, and every person that speaks with something haram, غيبة, نميمة, anything. أو فاعل لمحرم, or doer of a sin. فإنه يحرم الجلوس والحضور عند حضور المنكر. It's haram, يحرم الجلوس, to sit and to be present while the munkar, while the sin is present. الذي لا يقدر على إزالته. The sin that is present and you're not able to remove it. هذا النهي والتحريم لمن جلس معهم. This is nahi, this forbiddance, and this haram is for those who sit with them. As you see here, before we continue, to commit the haram, this is one sin. To be present, sitting, present while people are committing sins, and you're not committing the sin, and you're not forbidding the sin, and the sin is not being removed, then it's haram for you to sit with them. I hope this is clear. You know, and we have many examples where people, for example, they go to weddings. The weddings, there's mixed gatherings between men and women. And women are looking at men and men are looking at women. There are maybe music, there might be whatever sins that are being there. If a person happened to be there and he forbid the evil, advising the people this is haram, do this, do that, and they didn't listen, then it's haram for that individual to continue for a second with them. He has to leave. Even if it's the father of the groom, for example, yes. Even if it's the brother, even if it's the mother, it doesn't matter. The religion of Allah, when the ruling from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes, there's no favors for anyone. With kindness, with goodness, but haram, you're committing sin and they're committing sins, and there's no difference. Even if a person is not indulged with them in the same sin. He says, وَلَمْ يَسْتَعْمِلْ تَقْوَى اللَّهِ بِأَنْ كَانَ يُشَارِكُهُمْ فِي الْقَوْلِ وَالْعَمَلِ الْمُحَرَّمِ. It's haram even if he he says هذا النهي والتحريم من جلس معهم ولم يستعمل تقوى الله. He did not use the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala بأن كان يشاركهم في القول والعمل المحرم أو يسكت عنهم عن الإنكار. What is the haram here? What is the taqwa of Allah that needs to be observed in such a situation? The haram is that he's sharing with them in the haram speech, in the haram action, or he is silent and he's not forbidding the evil that is being done and present. So these are the three things that are equal: the speech of haram, the action of haram, and not forbidding or being silent from forbidding the evil, whether it's people backbiting, haram, whatever. فإن استعمل تقوى الله, if he uses the taqwa of Allah, بأن كان يأمرهم بالخير, he was commanding them to do al-khair, telling them, oh my people, this is haram, do this. Time of the salah comes and they're not making salah, right? You remind them it's time for the salah, they're not listening. You know, this is يأمرهم بالخير وينهاهم عن الشر, forbidding them from the evil. والكلام الذي يصدر منهم, and the kalam, the speech that comes out from them. They're gathered for a bid'ah, innovation in the deen that they're doing, not according to the sunnah of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, and so on. فيترتب على ذلك زوال الشر أو تخفيفه. If he reminds them, and as a result of that, the evil is removed or lessened, either removed completely or it becomes less, then فهذا ليس عليه حرج ولا إثم. This person has no blame or nor there is sin upon that person. And if the evil becomes less, he did good by forbidding the evil, but then it's still present, then he has to leave. Because it's not permissible to be present while there is evil being committed in the place that a person is in. So وَإِمَّا يُنْسِيَنَّكَ الشَّيْطَانِ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. If you forgot, then once you're reminded, do not sit with the قوم الظالمين, the wrongdoing ones. وما على الذين يتقون من حسابهم من شيء ولكن ذكرى لعلهم يتقون. What that ayah means, أي ولكن ليذكرهم ويعظهم لعلهم يتقون الله تعالى. Let him remind them and admonish them so that maybe they would يتقون الله, maybe they will fear Allah. He says وفي هذا دليل على أنه ينبغي. This has an evidence that it's ينبغي, that means it should be done. أن يستعمل المذكر, that المذكر is the reminder, the one that reminds the people. This is المذكر, اسم فاعل. يستعمل, he used that word يستعمل, استعمل more here in this context. That means he uses, المذكر is the one that reminding the people. He should use من الكلام, from the speech, ما يكون أقرب, what should be أقرب, closer إلى حصول مقصود التقوى, closer to attain the objective of the taqwa. That means he has to be wise, he has to choose his words so that the taqwa of Allah is established with the goodness of or the wisdom that he's using. وفي دليل على أنه إذا كان التذكير والوعظ, also another dalil, that if the tadhkir, the reminder and the admonition, مما يزيد الموعوظ شرا, if you remind and you try to give reminder and advise the people, but that would increase the maw'udh. Al-maw'udh is the one that is being advised from al-wa'dh. If it increase him evil, more evil to his evil, شرًا إلى شره, كان تركه هو الواجب. Then to leave him alone, this is what's wajib, this is what's an obligation. Why? لأنه إذا ناقض المقصود كان تركه مقصودا. Because if it negates the maqsood, the objective, then to leave it is an objective. And so he mentioned here the levels of forbidding evil and enjoining the good. Why? Because as we heard, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated for us enjoining good and forbidding evil for what? To remove the evil or to lessen the evil. But if someone, he thinks that if he forbid the evil will increase. Then he was a reason for the evil to increase. That means it's haram for him to forbid the evil. Right? So say, for example, people are playing music. And he knows that if you advise them, they'll say, well, they're going to raise even the voice louder to make fun of him or to, things like this. Then it's not permissible for him to forbid the evil in this case because he knows that they're going to do more, right? Or people, if they do not stop, as Sheikh Hussein Taymiyyah, even rahimahullah, is the famous story from him when he was passing by some of the Tatar and they were drinking and they were intoxicated. And he did not forbid the evil when he saw it. And some of his students, they said to him, you saw them being drunk and intoxicated and you did not forbid the evil. He says these people, if they're sober, they'll go kill the Muslimin. So if he forbade the evil, right, what happened if the evil is removed? They're going to commit a major sin, a worse sin than what they're in. So leave them in that state. But a person has to have ilm, knowledge, to make these types of judgment and to have some thoughtful, real thinking, not following the desires when it comes to these matters. So as you see here, this is conditions, this is principles, this is acts of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why the ayat here is something for a person to learn how to act according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from them. So since turning away from these majalis, that they attack the ayat of Allah and things like this, and the believers might have heard something which they were forgetful or they didn't hear it, and that's why it says وَمَعَ الَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ مِنْ حِسَابِهِمْ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. الَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ, the Prophet, the believers, they are the first of the muttaqeen, of course, those who received these verses first, and those who follow them, which is وَمَعَ الَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ مِنْ حِسَابِهِمْ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. there's no harm for them if that happened. And it happened till the Prophet ﷺ would leave. ولكن ذكرى لعلهم يتقون, but rather it's ذكرى. ذكرى, that means a reminder. That means they're not responsible. The believers are not responsible, but they are responsible for the dhikra. They are responsible for the reminder. Right? So this is their responsibility. If they're not able to, then they have to leave. If they fear for themselves, then they have to leave. لعلهم يتقون, maybe they will have the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is what the verses are saying, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from the evil of our own selves. And it shows that we have to be patient with the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to be firm upon what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. And this is how the munkar, the evil, changes. Otherwise, when people think that I'm going to upset this person, make these people not happy with me, they might turn away from the deen more. This is the deen of Allah. And the reality is, it becomes worse and worse. When callers to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they start compromising the deen to please the people, and they become present in these gatherings where there is haram being involved, mixing and things like this, for the sake of the da'wah, for people to listen to the word of the truth. All of these man-made reasons that is against the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it caused the people to be more deviated from the truth. And when a person is firm with kindness, with goodness, with gentleness, right, and without having, and as we heard, to even choose the words what to be said, and to be kind to others, this is all part of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from the believers. We'll stop here, inshallah ta'ala, again because of the time of the salah here even. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us steadfast upon the deen of Allah. And forgive me, inshallah, I have to leave. So inshallah we'll continue next time, inshallah. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.